Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, of course, last week we had the Conservative Party conference. There was a few things, I did a few stories on it, but they tended only to be sort of relevant ones. There was one or two that weren't particularly Scottish-centric, but they were interesting nonetheless, I think. But this week, of course, we've got the Labour Party conference there in Liverpool. And again, like the Tories, it's open season on the SNP. Nobody's holding back. Nobody's scared of them anymore. Nobody feels that they shouldn't have a go at them. Well, now you've got the Labour's shadow Scottish secretary, Ian Murray, and he has suggested, and I think quite rightly, that now that Nicola Sturgeon and Ian Blackford have been replaced by Yousaf and Stephen Flynn, he's saying it is a massive downgrade. And of course, he's completely right. You've got rid, in the form of Nicola Sturgeon, the only person who could maintain discipline within the party, and replaced her, someone who was a very shrewd political operator, it must be said. Don't like the politics, always said this, but boy, she could play the game of politics very well. And you've replaced her with an idiot, a moron, a nincompoop and an imbecile, a man who has no understanding of political nous whatsoever, a man who sat there and radically split his party on just about every issue that's come up because he doesn't understand about how to coalesce power, only how to divide it. And of course you got rid of Tubby Blackford, who was always good value for money. I mean, you never listened really to what he said. It was always a bit stupid and always took the wrong take. But you've replaced him by Stephen Flynn, a man who is quite incapable of understanding sort of high policy. He doesn't even understand his own party's policy on independence. It's no wonder it's a downgrade. Anyway, we'll have a look at what Ian Murray is saying. And I've got to be honest, he's completely right. Anyway, here goes. So Yousaf and Stephen Flynn are a huge downgrade on Nicola Sturgeon and Ian Blackford, quips Ian Murray, as he makes an Operation Branch Form jibe. I said, it's open season on the SNP now. They're given no respect. Everyone is just launching into them. And it are funny. So the Shadow Scotland Secretary used his speech at the UK Labour conference to attack the SNP, as he highlighted the huge dearth in quality in their leadership compared to just last year. Yeah, I mean, everyone of talent, and there's very few of talent, let's say, is gone. You know, they've just got... They're just employing the biggest idiots they can find. You don't know why. It just seems to be the direction of travel for the party. Anyway, the SNP's new leaders, Yousaf and Stephen Flynn, are a huge downgrade on their predecessors, Nicola Sturgeon and Ian Blackford, claimed Ian Murray. The Shadow Scotland Secretary also quipped about Operation Branchform during his speech at the Labour conference. Scottish Labour leader Anna Sowar issued a rallying call to delegates as he insisted that no SNP MP can sit safely following their huge win in Rutherglen and Hamilton West. And he claimed the tectonic plates of Scottish politics have shifted now. And he is quite right, although he must, of course, accept that there was a lot of tactical voting. There was definitely Tories voting Labour simply to make sure the SNP were out. And that's fine. And as long as, a few Labour voters will do the same in the Tories challenging seats, hold your nose and vote there and just get the SNP out. Don't vote for anyone, vote against. That's the secret of this next election. Anyway, Mr Murray, the Edinburgh South MP, used his speech to attack the Nats, as he said that voters want change. And that is why they secured a resounding victory in South Lanarkshire. He will now be joined in the House of Commons by Labour colleague Michael Shanks. So yeah, Ian Murray. Of course, he's the Scottish Shadow Secretary for Scotland, because he's the only Scottish Labour MP until last Friday morning. And they've now had a 100% increase in representation in Scotland. Well, they can split the workload now, can't they? Talking about the 20% swing from the Nationalists, which, to be honest, I'm still astounded at. He said, what it means is there is no SNP resting easy. He said, a coalition of voters voting for change in Rutherglen and Hamilton West. It's no wonder the SNP is in total disarray. And as I say, it's actually imploding. The support is falling, the voting share is falling, the income massively falling. And after this next general election, if they do lose half their seats, say, at Westminster, that is a huge reduction in their income. This time last year, he said, the SNP leadership was Nicola Sturgeon and Ian Blackford. Now it's Yousaf and Flynn. That's the biggest downgrade since Sturgeon moved out of Butte House and into a luxury camper van. Murray was referencing the SNP purchasing a 110k motorhome, which was situated in the driveway of Peter Murrell's elderly mother's home in Dunfermline. This vehicle was seized by cops looking into allegedly missing £660,000 of ring-fenced Independence cash. Now, of course, it's not allegedly missing, it's actually missing. It's allegedly embezzled. There's a difference. The probe also leading to the arrest of the married couple, blah, blah, blah. We know the whole story. He introduced Scottish Labour leader Mr Sawa, who highlighted that his party could now be the serious contender across the country for a majority of seats in Scotland. And he said that no SNP MP was safe from his resurgent group. And he's quite right. They must all be sitting there, especially the backbenchers, must be sitting there and looking and thinking, Humza Yousaf, you need to go. You're destroying our chances. And of course, every tiny, tiny swing in the poll means there's fewer and fewer of them at the next election. I mean, a 20% swing like that would decimate the party. They would lose so many seats. It's estimated that if tactical voting did come into it, if the Labour voters in Tory areas voted Tory and the Tory voters in Labour areas vote, this is where the sitting MP is SNP, of course, voted Labour, they could lose 40 seats with that swing. That level of swing could knock 40 seats. Now, that would be a stat. It's not going to happen, of course. It won't happen because there's going to be Labour voters out there who just will not vote Tory. And there's going to be Tory voters who will not just vote Labour. But, you know, if you pull your big girl knickers up and do the deed, you could get rid of 40 SNP MPs, sitting MPs. That would end the party overnight. And certainly it would be the end of Humza Yousaf if he's still in power come the next election, which is not, of course, guaranteed. Anyway, the Glasgow MSP said, on Thursday night we made history and changed the face of Scottish politics. The tectonic plates have shifted because the people of Rutherglen and Hamilton West have spoken for all of Scotland and have sent a message to two failing governments. And this is the thing. I mean, the SNP obviously shocked, astoundingly shocked by the result. But the Tories will be looking at that and be a bit worried as well. It sends a message in two directions, towards Edinburgh and towards London. And it was a hell of a message to send. Anyway, he said, they want an end to the incompetence, an end to the chaos, an end to the division, and an end to the politics which puts community against community, Scot against Scot, and puts the status quo before change. They voted for change, for a party that will give Scotland its future back. And then he's just off politicking for a little while, which I'll let him have that one. Deputy Leader Dame Jackie Baillie previously said that the party was now targeting 28 seats across Scotland, a big rise from the 6 that they would be looking at before. And with a massive swing of 20% in South Lanarkshire, they hope to maybe become the largest party in Scotland. Now, that would be such a turnaround. You know, you'd be going from one Westminster seat at one election to being the largest number of seats in Scotland at the next. And that shows the collapse of the SNP. This isn't Labour doing anything particularly right. It's the fact that the SNP has consistently got it wrong. And this is where I think Anas Sawar has played a blinder. Is he kept his mouth shut. He's never opened it. He's never said anything divisive. He's never said anything that would rile people up. He's just sat there patiently, mouthing the right things occasionally, you know, coming out onto the balcony, waving a hand. But he's not been divisive. And when things need to be done, he's sent Jackie Baillie out into the fight to deal with it. And quite right too. And so he hasn't garnered that opprobrium, if you will, that follows so many leaders who seem to think that every issue they need to get up there and say something. Anna Sawaz just kept his own counsel quite well, and I think that's possibly the best ploy he's had. It's certainly going to be paying off at the next election. Anyway, Labour voted for the SNP's gender reform bill and support their plans to throw tens of thousands of North Sea oil and gas workers onto the scrap heap, said Craig Hoy. And he's right. They did vote for the gender reform bill, which is against what the vast majority of Scots want. And of course, they are also mouthing the line about ending the need for North Sea oil. Although, that's only because they're stupid and they don't understand that petrol's a waste product and that most oil is used in other things. But hey, you can't fix stupid, as they say. And then he's doing a bit of politics and saying, oh, the Tories are the only people who blah, blah, blah. And we can do that. We don't care. We don't care. Anyway, I shall round off there. We'll come up. But it is just nice to see that every party that's having a conference is having a wee dig at the SNP. And may it long reign. Coming up. Hamza Yousaf must be sitting there going, why is everyone having a go at me? Why is everyone attacking the SNP? Nicola Sturgeon never had this. Well, Nicola Sturgeon wouldn't let it happen, would she? But of course everyone is, because he is an idiot, because he's not a leader, because he is sitting over a party in disarray, a party that hasn't got a clue, a party with, frankly, an appalling record in every area of policy. And he really hasn't got a clue what to do. It's a man who's been way over promoted. He's been pushed into a position that he is ill-equipped and ill-educated and ill-experienced, certainly, to perform. It's like taking the village idiot and making him a professor or something. You don't do it. You just don't, and yet they have. They have. And no wonder everything's going wrong. Anyway, I can't wait now for the SNP conference. I tell you, that's going to be a very difficult one for Hamza Yousaf. But of course, this Labour one isn't over yet. You don't know where they're going to go next. Anyway, I shall bring that if any more happens. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Do hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, there's a week to go and we will definitely be covering the SNP conference, so do stay tuned. Bye.